What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. Danny Brown is back with his first album in over 3 years titled Atrocity Exhibition. He is one of the few artists that can really take the time to craft an album. He spent so much time on this, as opposed to a lot of artists where in the 3 years that he took the time, artists have put out multiple projects. And Danny's not even like the biggest names. He's not a Drake. He's not a Kanye. So essentially, a lot of artists in his position can't take that kind of time off. But Danny did. He got bigger because of it. I think it's just because his fan base really gravitates towards his music in a sense that he makes music for longevity purposes. You listen to his music and then you see him perform, like there's that correlation, and that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about with this new album. So let me start this off by saying I was not a Danny Brown fan at all prior to this album. When I listened to Old, I liked the first half because it sounded normal, and I couldn't get past like the voice that he does. Fun fact, back after Old dropped, after I had listened to it, I went on Twitter and said Danny Brown might have won a fan sooner if he would stick to this normal voice and not that. I use the term stupid because I didn't really like the voice that he does on most of the songs. So I said that on Twitter. I didn't at him because I'm not that type of person. I just share my thoughts and keep it moving. Danny Brown searched his name and responded by calling me retarded. If you don't know the definition of that, it means you're strung out on meth. So not only did me and Danny share a moment on Twitter, but I learned a new word. I haven't been able to use it in like regular conversation, but I've never forgotten that definition. So as you can see, I was not really a fan, and it really took the album's closure, Atrocity Exhibition's final song, Hell For It, to turn me into a fan. I love that song. I think it's because it might be like that definitive song where something, you listen to an artist and then it just clicks. Everything just clicks. And from there you want to listen to it. I think after listening to Hell For It 11 times in the first night, I had to keep rewinding that track because I liked it that much. I thought of this not as a chore, but as an album I actually wanted to dive into. Like, yes, he's doing his, his weird voice or normal, however you want to classify the voice. I don't really understand how to say it. Maybe it's weird, maybe it's not. To me, it's weird, and it stands out, and I get why he is able to do what he does, but it took a lot for me to actually enjoy the voice. And I think after listening to the album so many times, I can say that it's kind of like it doesn't bother me anymore. Going back to Hell For It, another reason why it really drew me in is because it's autobiographical. The first verse is about him being in Detroit hustling, selling Prada, and doing whatever he has to do in order to save up the money to buy a bus ticket from Detroit to New York just to record. Like, I'm not a drug user, so some of the music on this album I can't really relate to, and I'm not saying that in a way that I can't enjoy it or appreciate it or listen to it whenever, but I really relate to stuff like Hell For It. And then like the second verse is more him talking about like his substance abuse a little bit, and even the perils of being a lyricist in this day and age, how being a lyricist is so underappreciated, and how you have radio puts these artists on pedestals, and he calls out Iggy Azalea for no real reason. There wasn't anything that Iggy said, but he told Complex in a little short, brief interview, he said that she just rhymed, so that was the reason why he included her. But like I said, I genuinely wanted to learn more about the album and hear more about Danny from his perspective throughout the album. I was reading an article on Stereo Gum that was about like the creation of the album, and how when he creates albums he doesn't go into it with like a title and a concept and ideas and themes. He just starts listening to beats and lets everything take from there. But with this album he had the title dating back to when he dropped Triple X. He said that Atrocity Exhibition is an album title that he's had for that long, and I'm like, the reason why he didn't do it sooner is because he didn't feel like people would get it. But now that he's a big underground name and he has a legion of fans, he feels like now he could just do whatever he wants. He could be himself. So that was a cool little tidbit. Another one was that Paul White, who produces the bulk of this album, was sending him 50 beats at a time. At one point, Danny had 700 beats from Paul White alone. Like, that is a ton of beats to have for one album. And obviously he didn't record to a lot of them. There's only 15 songs on this one. But just having that many beats done. And then when you listen to the album, getting into the production to me is one of the strongest parts of the album. He spent 70,000 to clear samples alone. So when you hear that fact, you're thinking, this production better be great. This better be top notch. I better be getting the best production that Danny can possibly do. And you really do. You get a diverse set of production on the album. And like going back to that whole Paul White 700 beats thing, I'm thinking like, if these are completed beats, Paul White has a huge arsenal to use and work with a bunch of different people. It's just crazy when you think about, you listen to these songs and then you wonder like what the beats that Danny didn't use sound like. So with the production, you sort of get all kind of instruments, you get a bunch of experimental sounds and just some raw beats overall. There's a lot of attention to detail. You listen to a song like White Lines and it feels very cinematic, like one that you'd hear in an intense montage in a movie, or even just like the cocaine scene in a movie where maybe they're making it, selling it, or using it, whatever the case, but it has that feel to it. Ain't It Funny, in an alternative universe, would definitely be the Ghostbusters theme song. But for me, the production was some of the strongest points. It made me want to continue to listen to the album. I feel like, as I've said earlier, when I listened to Hell For It, and then I really got into the production, like there was just layers on layers that really made me want to keep listening. And I still want to listen because I'm thinking of like all the different beats, and then like I want to see him live now because I think, as I pointed out earlier, Danny makes music with performing in mind. Like, he's going to be touring, and there's no word on when he'll probably come out with his next album. It could be another 3 years. It could be 2. It could be next year. Who knows? But he makes music for the longevity, and that's shown in the production. Like, you listen to these beats, and there's a lot of songs that you're going to hear, like, perform live, and they're just gonna be crazy. You have records like Lost and Dance in the Water and When It Rained. Like, those are very energetic beats. I love the Outkast nod on Today. He flips Andre's B.O.B. verse and sort of fits it into his world, but you still catch it because he has like the cadences of like the style, and like a few of the lines are the same. I thought that was a really cool Easter egg to have. And also, can we talk about how Danny Brown sounds like a lost TDE? Remember when he uses his regular voice? He only does it a couple times on the album, but Tell Me What I Don't Know is fire for that reason. I'm listening to this and thinking, damn, he really would have fit well into TDE if he had this sound. Obviously, he doesn't all the time, but I think I really like that. And I think it also helps because he's talking about the grind as well. You know, going back to like Detroit roots and letting people know this is what was happening in my life before rap. And I think he's a really good storyteller, and he proves that throughout the album. He's very vivid with his words, and I think as a lyricist you have to be. The one song on the album that I just couldn't get into, like I have to skip this one every time, is Get High. I'm just not down with the whole happy-go-lucky vibe of it. Like, B-Roll's hook just feels so out of place, especially for someone like him who's made a career rapping about weed. And I'm not a weed smoker myself, but I have enjoyed plenty of songs throughout the years that center around the topic. This one, however, is just not it. It's just not the one. It took a while, but now I feel like I could say that I'm a Danny Brown fan officially. This album continues to grow on me and grow on me. And like I said, there was layers and layers that really drove me to keep listening, from Hell For It to the production to him reflecting on his life prior to hip-hop those are the type of things that I really enjoyed about the album. Danny is really a strong lyricist with a keen sense of storytelling. It almost makes me wish that I had been more open like 3 years ago when I was listening to old and really understood the material and enjoyed it a lot more. Like, I think now is the time for me to go back and listen and appreciate that, and even listen to Triple X, because I've heard that that is Danny's best project. So those are my thoughts on Danny Brown's newest album, Atrocity Exhibition. Let me know what you think about the album in the comment section below, and then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at SermonsDomain, and as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, peace.